You think I'm going to trust the law enforcement in the DR? No, I'm not.
The media has gone absolutely insane in the United States after the disappearance of Sudiksha Konanki, the young lady, the tourist who went missing here in Dominican Republic. For some reason, the fact that she, as a 20-year-old woman who decided drunk to go down to the beach at 4 a.m. with somebody she doesn't know and be left alone with him and then looks like go into the ocean, somehow that makes the Dominican Republic a problem. I don't get it. I don't know how. And on this channel where I talk a lot about life down here and how beautiful it is and how amazing it is and how safe it is, and I believe truly we feel safer here than we do, and most people do, than we do even in the United States, I feel this responsibility to step up and stand up for the Dominican Republic. Years ago, there was the whole hard rock alcohol incident. You can go and Google that if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about. But we didn't have the ability back then, to the extent we do now, to have a voice independently, independent media like this, to share reality. So that's what I'm going to do today. So meet Nancy Grace. Nancy Grace is a media personality. She's done a lot of work in the legal and justice space by sharing different cases, and she's done some investigations and everything. And tragically, she actually started her career in this space sort of as an activist against people being victimized when her own soon-to-be husband, her fiance, was killed, I believe. Something tragic happened with him, and that launched a career for her. And to be honest with you, she's written books. She's done a lot of content. She's done a lot of good work exposing predators versus victims and making sure people don't become victims. So she's a great personality, a great media, kind of a legend in the United States. But even legends can be extremely wrong. And today, I want to show you what she talked about with an interview she did with the Loudoun County, Virginia Sheriff, which is where Sudiksha was from. And they had some personnel on the ground here in DR, along with FBI. She does this interview, and wait till you see how snarky and condescending and completely detached from the idea that there's more to the world than the United States that she is in the way in which she describes the Dominican Republic. Check this out.
Secondhand information.
Sheriff, Sheriff, you've got a great record. You're beloved and looked up to in your jurisdiction. But can we just get real for a moment? The law enforcement in the DR, are you kidding me? You think I'm going to trust the law enforcement in the DR? No, I'm not. I started writing a book, Don't Be a Victim. I got to the DR, I practically had to write a whole chapter, for Pete's sake. You think they've got touch DNA? You think they know how to use a vac at a crime scene, or complicated blood spatter, or anything remotely like what we have developed in the United States? That's a yes, no, Sheriff. Do you really believe that their investigation even approaches what we would consider a world-class investigation like you would find in your jurisdiction?
I mean, can you feel it? Don't you just want to kind of, give me a break? But they are? Are you kidding me? They are. Sheriff, you're respected, right? You're respected. Can you tell me that they are? Ew. I mean, the amount that she is out of touch with this idea that outside of the United States, nothing exists. Nothing is good. Only the United States is a good place blows my mind. And I'm going to sequentially, absolutely destroy all of what she's saying in just a moment. But let's at least hear what the sheriff has to say.
Well, I'm retired from DEA. I served 3 times overseas, and you're right, Nancy. You can't, there's a huge difference between what our foreign counterparts can do and what we can do and the capabilities that we have in the U.S. I think the best thing that's going on here right now is the fact that it's staying in the news. It kind of forces them to make sure that they're on their game, because they've got oversight. They've got everybody looking at it from across the globe here with regards to the media. You have the FBI that's looking at what they're doing down there. You have us that's looking at what they're doing. So the fact is that I think all that helps hold them more accountable.
Oh, we're down there watching these savages down there, these people, this third world. Like, we're holding them accountable because we're superior beings, because we were born in the United States. We're much superior because we use a vac and blood splatter. And I'm going to tell you exactly why you need to in just a second, and why maybe DR doesn't have quite the same need. And just watch.
And it gives us the opportunity to share some of the capabilities that we have with them. And I know, like the FBI, for example, I believe sent a dive team down. So there's a lot that we can offer there. And again, it's a foreign country, so we're trying to kind of help with them, help guide them through it a little bit, and make sure they're not missing anything.
Okay, Sheriff Mike Chapman, you're being overly kind in your analysis.
She's back. You're too kind in your analysis. Shut up. Anyway, again, respect her, respect what she's done. But right here, like, check yourself, lady. Check yourself. Let's break this down. First off, you sent an FBI dive team down. Thank God you did, right? Because if you hadn't done that, she wouldn't have been found. Oh, no, wait. Still wasn't found. Oh, well, they got there later if they were there earlier. Drones were sent, helicopters were sent, dive teams were sent. You think a country that has an ocean doesn't know how to recover people in the ocean? It's been done before. So please with this, like, oh, if the FBI wasn't here, what would have happened? Oh my God. Oh, thank God for those United States people coming in. As a guy living here in the Dominican Republic who travels all over the country and actually has spent time here, unlike Nancy Grace or the sheriff of the Loudoun County Police Department, let me give you perspective when you shift it around. When you leave the United States and see what life is like outside of it. Let's dive into it. By the way, if you're new to the channel, my name's Jamie Gruber, my family, and I moved to the Dominican Republic in August of 2022. And I share all about life down here, real estate investing, everything else. And boy, when I see the need to, I'll defend this country as well. So this video is more on that, but check out the channel, subscribe. I would love for you to. Trying to get to 100,000 subs by the end of 2025 means a lot if you do it. All right, let's make one concession here. The United States is a fully developed nation, as are many countries in Europe and in Australia and other parts around the world. The Dominican Republic is a developing nation. So if you're going to think you got like a gotcha on developed nation has more modern technology, more modern methods or whatever in something like this than a developing nation, like, oh, no kidding. Does an adult have more of their faculties than a baby or a teenager? Of course. But does that mean the teenager doesn't have... They're disgusting. Ugh, they can't even pay their own rent. Ugh, the teenager? The teenager? Are you kidding me? Think I won't trust the teenager? Just disgusting. The point could be made that support from a country like the United States, who has many assets that they can bring down and help local authorities with, is absolutely valid. But to do it in this way where you're just dismissing a whole group of people as this like lesser than, that's where this jumps the shark for me, and that's where this is disgusting. It just reeks of ignorance. But that's just the beginning of my rant. You ready? Hey, why does the U.S. need all these hyper-developed... using a VAC and blood splatter analysis? Why do you think they need that maybe more than the Dominican Republic? Could it be because in the United States, you have mass shootings, school shootings, random acts of violence, attempted political violence, trying to kill presidents before they become president, trucks driving through Bourbon Street at 2 a.m, taking out as many human beings as they possibly can, serial killers like Ted Bundy, BTK, and others? Could it be that there's such a mental health mindfuck in the United States right now that makes us say, after we stayed here a year for the adventure, you know what? Looking back, like, that place is crazy. I think we're going to stick around down here for a while because guess what? We actually feel safer sending our kids to school. We actually feel safer walking around the streets. So could it be that a country has to invest more in certain measures when their country is plagued with that particular thing? Well, let's play this out. If you got dengue fever in the United States, very often the doctors there will misdiagnose you with the flu or something else and will not get to actually what the issue is and how exactly to help get somebody through it without dying. Why? Because in the United States, you don't see a lot of dengue fever. Now here, our son, our oldest, actually got dengue fever. We had to hospitalize him for a couple of days. But from the moment he had the symptoms, he was accurately diagnosed because the doctors here have to deal with it and they understand it. They invest in the technology and the training and all of the other things that are required of them to treat dengue fever because it's something we have to deal with here more regularly than you do in the United States. But if a US person went to a hospital in the US and they misdiagnosed dengue fever as the flu, can you imagine a Dominican media person coming out like, the US? Southern Dominican, for whatever reason, they have a Southern accent. The U.S.? Are you kidding me? The U.S. for dengue? Nah. Give me a break. Blows my mind. How about this? The Dominican Republic suddenly has a major event and snow falls here. Never has happened, never gonna happen. But let's just say it happens. Would you lament and like look down your nose at DR for not being able to clear the snow? Ew. Or would you say, well, they don't really deal with it? I want you to look up serial killers in the Dominican Republic. I found 2, and they weren't even serial killers, and they weren't even in the Dominican Republic. One was a Dominican national who became a serial killer in another country, and the other was speaking of like a shooting in Higuay like 5 years ago, and they called that serial, but that wasn't. It was just like a few people were shot in this act of violence or whatever. That was targeted, by the way, not random. Stay out of bad places. Bad things don't happen here. Doesn't matter where you are in the United States, a bad thing can happen. That's the comparison. So yeah, maybe DR could come further along with their forensic investigation. And this isn't saying that there isn't violence here. There is. Most of it, 99% of it is domestic, and it happens. And for sure, improvement in forensics and everything, if you can get more modern, get more modern. But the extent to which you need it here is way less than the extent to which you need it there. That's a fact. And there's no reason for anybody to look down their nose at a group of people and a country that has connectedness, an amazing culture, love in their hearts, that when I know of a lot of people like, crap, my tire blew, and people pull up randomly, help you change the tire. Don't even ask for a tip or money and just take off. That happens here. The US, I'd be scared to death what's about to pull over and help me. You kidding me? So different problems, different expertise. We can agree on that, right, Nancy? Without looking down your friggin' nose at the entire country. Let's agree on that. Next, I want to talk about what she said in her book.
I wrote a book. I had to write a whole chapter almost on the Dominican Republic.
You know what I did last night, Nancy? I downloaded your book on Audible. I used a whole credit, a $14 credit, so I could hear what you're talking about in your book. There's one chapter on Audible. It's a long one, 90 minutes long on advanced speed. And it talked all about not being a victim abroad, like traveling abroad. It called it South of the Border and Traveling Abroad. And for the first 20 to 30 minutes of that chapter, she's talking about Mexico and all these stories out of Mexico. This person getting killed, this person getting attacked, this person whatever, which again, it's not even like for Mexico. You go anywhere, you go to Chicago, you can get attacked. Anywhere people go, there's going to be things that happen. It doesn't mean that Mexico should be written off as like this awful place. And
The United States, that stuff just doesn't happen.
bullshit. So she spends 30 minutes there. Then she dives into Aruba and Jamaica and a couple of other countries, Barbados maybe. She jumps into all these different countries and she spends 4 or 5 minutes there. Then she spends about 65 seconds on the Dominican Republic. And you know what she says? Because of the timing of the release, she goes,
Dominican Republic. Down there, they had this alcohol poisoning thing, but it's alleged, and there has not been confirmation that it was actually methanol poisoning like what happened in Mexico.
well, she said Mexico. 65 seconds saying, hey, there was a string of people that died at resorts and they're trying to figure out if it's an tainted alcohol thing. That's where you're saying,
Oh my God, almost needed an entire chapter. You kidding me? You kidding me, DR?
Nancy, I think you just need to check yourself here. That now I'm looking at it like, hey, like that's a bit of an exaggeration, don't you think? 65 seconds in an hour and a half chapter, and you're saying it needed a whole chapter, whereas Mexico spent a third of that chapter you spent on Mexico, and that doesn't need its own chapter? Let's pump the brakes, my friend. Pump the brakes. Look, here's the thing. Any country is going to indoctrinate its citizens into it being the greatest country in the world. US is no different. Dominican Republic's no different. Our kids take a class in school called Sociales, which is like history of DR, but there's a lot of national pride taught in that course. That's what we see. They want people that live here, Dominicans, which our kids are, to be prideful of being Dominican. Just like in the US, we do the same. Now, in the US, we also have an advanced propaganda. Like, think of the movies. What happens in the movie? Like, they go to this crappy country and the bumbling, fumbling, moronic local leader doesn't know what he's doing. But then here come the SEALs. American pride. They take care of it. Like, that's right, because only America. Rambo. All these different movies have always promoted the idea that if not America, then it's all garbage. These other countries are disgusting, no matter where they might be. So she's just part of that equation. I'm sure she's traveled. I know she's traveled internationally. I understand that she's done a lot of work with like the Natalie Holloway situation in Aruba. And funny enough, she gets into this like,
Aruba, they couldn't find her. Jorn Vandersloot admits it recently. I went down there to look.
yeah, what'd you find, Nancy? You're so great. What'd you find? Did you find her? No? So then maybe you're just as good as they are at trying to make like,
I'm so good at finding people that I found nobody. And neither did they, but I'm better at finding nobody than they are at finding nobody.
like, just stop. This is fun doing this accent. I got to do this more. I'm enjoying it. But you look, the United States, you're right, Nancy, like you should be very proud because one of the categories the United States leads in across the world, nobody is better at them than this. That's obesity. The fattest country in the world. So the least healthy country in the world is the country you're saying is so much better than a country like the Dominican Republic or any other country for that matter. Hey, where's education nowadays in the United States? What's the rating? Number 1, 2, 70, 80? Oh, it's best country in the world. Where are education ratings right now? All we keep hearing about there is like, man, our infrastructure is crumbling, roads and airports and all of that stuff, highways. So this great country, man, it sounds like they got some problems. And I already mentioned mass shootings, school shootings. That's a uniquely American trait. And I want to be very clear. I am a prideful American. I love being American. I will pound my chest. I am blessed that I was born in that country. It's an amazing country. But so is this one. They're not the same. They're different. I don't look down my nose at the United States in terms of these mass and school shootings. I look at the United States and say, that's got to get figured out. There's got to be help there. And I think what the Dominican Republic and other countries can teach a country like that is go out and see people. Be connected, actually do things together. Don't DoorDash and Amazon and Uber Eats everything so that you never leave your goddamn house. The lack of connection between people is causing issues in the United States, and it can be solved. Americans, me included, for a long time, underestimate or ignore how other countries excel or where they excel, how there's value in other places, how things done a different way still get the same result because it's not the American way. Sometimes we like, oh, that must not be good. Just to be clear, I like Nancy Grace. I like what she does. I think she's done amazing work in her career. She got this one very wrong, and she needs to be checked. Something else she gets into in her book and later on in that interview is around travel advisories. And I've talked about this before. Dominican Republic's under a level 2 travel advisory from the United States, which means increased caution needed or whatever. And she talks about that like,
These U.S. travel advisories, like, you better trust them.
like really? Okay, I'm going to trust the U.S. government. The same government that produced Anthony Fauci and the whole COVID response. Trust that. Trust the jab. Trust it. Just go ahead. Trust that. Trust Biden is not going to pardon his son. Trust all that Trump and Elon are doing. Just on the arm. Just trust it. Like don't look. Don't worry. Don't question it. You just trust it, right, Nancy? Because you would trust the level 2 travel advisory, and also you would look down your nose at Italy, at the UK, at Australia, at Portugal, at Spain, at France, at Germany. You'd look down your nose at those crappy little countries, right? Like
Germany, ugh. The UK, ew. Ugh. Spain, ew.
that was Spain and South, so it sounds like spine. I like this accent. So you would say,
Oh my God, those countries are crap.
well, you should, because they're the same travel advisory that the Dominican Republic has. Level 2, same exact travel advisory. Would it surprise you, Nancy? Would it surprise you that many local people here that have the means and that actually do travel to the United States do so under extreme caution themselves? Why? Mass shootings, school shootings, issues at the border, illegal immigration, all of the things that we see about the United States from this place where I live now, here in the Dominican Republic. And even as a guy moving here and looking back and going like, oh, wow, I didn't see how crazy it was when I was standing in it. Second, I stepped outside and looked back in like, holy crap, pretty crazy. So would it surprise you that many people here look at the United States and go like, oh my God, that's an unsafe place. So imagine a blonde-haired Dominican reporter coming on and saying like, the US, ew, look at the mass shootings, look at this, look at that. That would look ridiculous, right, Nancy? Completely ridiculous. You would think that person is maybe a little bit ignorant to what other countries actually have going on. You would think maybe that the response is inappropriate, unwarranted, and only hurtful. And you would probably say this person is a condescending, ignorant, and completely clueless about how the world works. Maybe we all need to open our minds a little bit, Nancy. And anyone else out there that refuses to look at all of the positives of this country and instead focuses on what still needs to be done. Newsflash, you can have both. You can have a great place that needs some progress. The US is that. The Dominican is that. Every country is that. But if you're the one who needs to focus on only the things that you've heard in the news and look down your nose at a people and a society that's advanced itself beyond what a lot of people thought it could be, then I'll just pray for you and your ignorance. You want to see what my life is like here in the Dominican Republic, in the area I chose to live in and where the country is trending toward? Do you want to see what the future of this country looks like? Just watch this video right here, and I'll give you a full tour, Nancy. Maybe this will change your mind. Maybe you'll think twice before coming after a country and looking down your nose at them because you've got some bias that you have zero clue about. Until then.